What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Project Defiance here. This time I'm going to be getting around to mounting some more of the items that are going to be involved in the back half here. Last one we got the fuel cell mounted, so now we're actually going to go and start working on mounting these bumps for the rear and possibly the transmission cooler at some point. Just need to figure out if that's the final resting place for it, because I kind of like the idea of tucking it away and maybe throwing it in this back section here. I don't know, let me know what you guys think, whether you guys want transmission coolers on top or tucked away where you can't see them at all. So with that being said, I have these mounts from Vulcan Motorsports out in Idaho, and they're gonna help me out a bunch in this next little bit. All right, and for those of you that don't know, these are gonna be the bolt-on style bumps right here. A lot of them traditionally are in cans, and it can be a massive pain to actually take them off in order to rebuild them. So the bolt-on ones, not only are they a lot easier to service, but they just look way cooler. And they come with this billet mount right here, which to me, it just looks so much better to run these, and that kind of seems to be the way that most people are going these days. But with that being said, you do need to custom mount and make like a shock mount right here on this top end right here. And that's where Vulcan Motorsports comes in. So right here, I had them actually design some brackets for me with some overlays, and that should bolt right up and actually weld these. Mine are kind of weird. I have to trim those mounts just a little bit because they are not actually gonna hit dead on. They're actually gonna be aiming slightly clocked back to hit dead center right here. That way, when I hit bump, that weight transfer goes up into here and disperses all the way around from the original point that it was hit at. So just kind of the idea and kind of the reason for the triangles through this structure here. So let's get to doing these. So before I move forward, I was actually just raising up the rear end, putting it at exactly 0.0 degrees, and just wanted to verify that everything was going together correctly. So I was able to measure this out and check and make sure it is 5 3/4 of this shock body showing to the top hat right there. And then also going over to this side, it is also 5 3/4 of that shock body. So I know everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be, and everything is level and true. So now I know I can proceed forward from this point on and start moving on to actually getting these welded in. So with that, one thing I should probably add in here is, with the previous video, I had actually raised the fuel cell up because of the original place that I put this fuel cell cradle, it was actually gonna crash into these upper links. I obviously could have bumped it out sooner and avoided that issue, but that additional like inch and a half of up travel, I'm huge on up travel numbers, and I figured getting that extra inch and a half made more sense. So we raised the fuel cell up, and now we know everything is going to work with each other and everything is going to clear. And then also with that, I left about an inch from the actual frame rail right there. So also we know that that is going to play friendly even without a bump pad in. So you kind of want to set up everything with the worst case scenario in mind, that the bump pad falls off and everything still clears. Worst comes to worst, you have the bottom of a bump, you got to get it rebuilt, done, you'll be back out next weekend. But, I guess there's not much more to add to that, but let's get to these mounts right here and let's get them welded on. All right, one of the things before I proceeded much further, with these clamps right here, they are going to lay right over almost to the top of this tube. So I went and threw a bead down on that tube behind it. So that way, even after when Dylan goes through and does all the final welding, all the welds behind are also 360 welded. So I'm gonna go ahead and, for one thing, I had to trim these because once again, they're gonna sit lower than these were originally designed for. And then it looks like this one right here is gonna need some additional trimming to actually lay against this curvature on the tube on the right hand side, while this side looks like it's going to lay perfect. So let's get to continuing with that. All right, well, I got that guy trimmed up. So the one on the left-hand side is going to sit flat, and then right here, this one has needed a little bit of a curve to get around that tube right there in order to sit at that exact same angle. So now it looks like I'm gonna about tighten these up, and then I'm gonna throw a little piece of paper in between to kind of just get a little bit of give. That way, after everything gets welded, these bumps are still able to go in and out. As a lot of us know, once things get welded, they heat up, they kind of change shape just a little bit, and yeah, just kind of a little preemptive before throwing on these brackets here. Make sure I can get these bumps off. Right, so next thing we have is getting these guys right here. These are all laser cut already. They were going to land perfectly flat if these were going all the way straight up, but they're not. So we are going to be cutting these for this little angle right here, and I'm probably going to do both of them the same since the other side is going to be exactly the same as this. And rough estimate going to be right there. So that should be good. Let's get these cut up, and I'm gonna also do the other side too. I'm living good. I go back to back. I go going to just about do it for these bump stops getting mounted up. We'll have Dylan come over at the end of this and do all the final welding, make them look awesome. But moving on from there, we're actually going to be doing these strike pads for the rear end here. So this is a product made by Izzy Fab. They're made out of chromoly and they're machined billet, and they are available in both 3.5 inch and 4 inch diameters. I'm sure you could probably ask for something else if you needed it, but again, super awesome product. Just like those, it's kind of nice to be able to buy products that are already kind of made, because time again is money, and I'm not going to make something look that cool on my own. So once again, they go right there. So let's get this rear end cycled up, and then let's get those tacked in. Well, that's going to just about do it for this episode here. We had Dylan come over. He was able to weld these down tubes in. He was welding these bump stop mounts in, and then also, you know, welded those strike pads over on the rear end, and I couldn't be more pumped. I feel like every time he comes over and does the final welding, it's just that icing on the cake, and it just makes everything come together. That it's like, oh, okay, that's what we've been working so hard for, which is awesome. So I think I'm going to try to keep some of these smaller kind of quick updates and quick kind of projects up. I know it's cool doing the full back half, and it's cool doing the whole cab cage, and those are fun episodes to do, and it's super exciting, but there's also a lot of this smaller stuff to knock out, and I feel like there's a lot of things to learn along the way with those. So hopefully giving a little bit more of a highlight on things like that. And then I guess at the end here, I'll kind of use it as a status update. As you'll notice, the whole back of the truck is taken apart now. And for one, it helped out because Dylan needed to get in there and actually final weld everything. It helped get a lot more space to be able to do that with, which is awesome.
The downside of it is the lower links that I had, and this is just one of the trials and tribulations of building these trucks, those lower links are not going to work. So I had, you can probably guess it, Izzy Fab come through, and he was able to make an awesome set of links. I don't have them right now, they're currently at powder coat, but I'll be picking those up hopefully later this week. And then from here, we'll actually be moving on to the shock towers, and that's super exciting. I feel like I have like 50 plus screenshots of different shock towers, and I like ideas from this one, so I kind of want to take it from there. And then, yeah, so that's just about do it. Thank you guys for watching these. You know, it's super cool to see this get traction. It's super fun. And then, yeah, I'll hopefully keep the updates a little bit more common and maybe have a little bit more of these smaller videos. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.